Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra and I'm so glad you're here. If you're new to my channel, perhaps coming over from the collaboration, I'd love it if you could hit that red subscribe button and stick around a while. My first project is using this bee and honeycomb cutout. I did this on my laser machine and I cut out 3 of them because I wanted the sign to be thicker. I find that when the signs are chunkier, they look a little bit more high end. So I like to glue 3 or 4 of them together and make them look a little bit nicer. You can also do this with some of the Dollar Tree signs. Just grab 3 or 4 of them and glue them together, and it will look so much better than just a simple thin sign. I'm using Gorilla Wood Glue to glue these together because then they're going to be solidly stuck and they will never come apart. Once I have them all glued together, I'm going to put something heavy on top of them and let it sit for a good hour or so the glue has a chance to dry. Once it was dry, I gave it 2 coats of a color called parchment. It's just a really nice off-white color. Now I'll just paint the bee portion black. I'm using a pencil to just outline where the bee's body would be on the sign, and I'm going to do the same thing for the wing. I'm using an angled brush and I've loaded just the angle part of it, so the longest part, and I'm going to use the brush to make sure that I get a really nice clean line around the body and the wing. It's hard for you to see this part, but what I'm writing in pencil first is hello honeybee. So the hello letters are just going to be in all caps right across, and then the honeybee I'm going to do in some type of little script to make it look fun. To make it really easy to get the font and the style that I want, I'm just using a black Sharpie marker, and I'm going to go over the letters a couple of times just to give them the thickness that I want. Normally, I would probably use a stencil or my Cricut to create a stencil, or even just use some black vinyl and put that on top. But I'm working at my cottage for this project, so I wasn't able to bring that along with me. In fact, I just didn't even think about it. So using the Sharpie marker works great because everybody will have one of those in their stash. And if you don't know how to do the lettering the way I'm doing it, simply print it off on your printer and use that pencil on the back of your paper and then trace out the letters, and then it's really easy to get them done. Sometimes I like to give my letters a bit of an outline or a shadow effect, so I'm just using a fine-tipped black marker and just going over the left side of the letters, and that just kind of gives it a little bit more of a high-end or more of a professional look. No project of mine would be complete without a little bit of distressing, so I'm just taking a sponge and dragging in a little bit of black right from the edge. I'll do that all the way around on the parchment color. Then using the sponge again, I just kind of went over it in a different direction just to blend out those strokes a little bit better. Then I grabbed some lemon yellow paint and I'm just going to do 2 little yellow stripes on the bee. Using the end of the paintbrush, I'm going to give the bee a little bit of a whimsical touch just by adding some dots around the wings. This project was kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of project. I really didn't know what I was going to do for each of these steps. So I had a little bit of a think in between and then decided to just go for it. I decided that some of these Blank spaces needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, so I'm using the felt tip marker, the fine one, and I'm just drawing some honeycomb shapes. Then I'm going to take the sponge with the yellow paint and just dab some right on top of those shapes. Lastly, I'm going to take the end of the paintbrush one more time, dip it into the yellow paint, and do some dots around the sign. I'm going to do the same thing with some black just to make things pop. Last year at the Dollar Tree, I was lucky enough to find some of their bee-themed fabrics, and I'm going to use this yellow honeycomb and then the black one with the beehives, and I'm going to just tear some 1-inch strips. So all you do is just cut a slit down at the bottom, then grab the 2 pieces of fabric and pull. The ends of your fabric get really torn and frayed, and it's perfect for a messy bow. I laid the pieces on top of each other, alternating with one color and then the other, cutting it in half because it's far too long, but I wanted my bow to be really full and fluffy. So I'm going to use another strip of fabric and tie it off really tight in the center and then fluff out the bow. I glued it to the bottom of my bee sign and then I added a pretty little yellow flower, and this is how it turned out. I'm so excited to share that this video is part of a summer collaboration that is hosted by Make It With Mia. We've also got Jenny from Lovely Moments Creating, Barbara from Country Lily DIY Decor, Mary from Craft Away with May, and me. Head on down to the description box, click on that playlist link because you are not going to want to miss out on any of the summer inspiration from all my fellow creators. For this project, I'm going to use this board that I just grabbed out of my stash, and I'm using a sponge and applying some antiquing wax. Now, my wax is already watered down a little bit because I like it that way, but if yours is thicker, you can definitely just put it in a little cup, add a little bit of water, and it'll create a really beautiful stain. Starting down at the bottom of the plank, I'm going to be adding some little furniture tacks. I really love to use these because they're sharp and pointy, and you have the ability to push them into the wood with your hand first and then tap them down with the hammer. I'm going to be making some string art. So I'm going to create a vase shape because I want to be able to add some florals into it at the end. I'm going to continue making my shape, and what I tend to do is go from the middle and start out to the right, and then I'll go over to the left and go out that way so I know everything is nice and even. And then I'll do the same thing, go up one side with a few of the tacks and then go up the other side with a few of the tacks, just so I can make sure that the shape I'm creating is symmetrical. Now, if you're not good at freehanding, by all means, just go ahead and trace something onto your board and then do it that way. I had some yarn in my stash that was from the Dollar Tree, and it's white, and I thought that would be a beautiful contrast to the wood of the plank. I'm starting at the top and I'm going to go around each of the nails and then move down to the next nail. So you can see what I'm doing here. This is just going to anchor all of the yarn all the way around the outside edge first, and then I can start doing a crisscross pattern. When I get to the top, I'm going to do the same thing, keep wrapping all the way around the nails, but then I'm going to use that small little tail and tie it off in a knot. Now comes the fun part. Wrap the yarn wherever you want. You create your own design. There's no wrong way to do this. It's just keep crisscrossing and going back and forth and up and down until you like the design you've created. Once I liked the way it looks, I got all the way around to the top again and tied it off in another knot and then just snipped off the ends. As I mentioned earlier, I am here at my cottage property, so I thought I would take you along with me as I go outside and forage for some florals. I'm heading straight to a really tall purple iris. There's going to be more blooms coming, but I'm going to sneak off that top bloom for my little vase on my string art. I'm also going to grab a few of these little fern branches. I think they're going to look so pretty against the iris. Here's the view we have of our lake from our cottage property, and it's just amazing. Such a happy place to be. Over here by the garage, I saw some little buds that hadn't bloomed yet, and I thought they would be a perfect little accent. So I'm going to snip some of those too. I tucked all the stems inside my vase, and then I decided I needed a little bit more of a texture color, so I went out and got some of these little weedy things. I think they're called goutweed, not sure, but whatever. I'm just going to add those in with another fern, and I think this turned out so pretty. I used my laser machine and cut out 4 pieces each of the bird, the heart, and the birdhouse. Then I glued them together just like I did for the bee sign. I know that sometimes you can find chunky pieces at the dollar stores, but my dollar stores never seem to have the items that I want. And because I live in Canada, they're always different. So being able to use my laser to just cut out the pieces that I want is a lot of fun and gives me more of a unique look for my projects. I'm going to paint the heart with the same parchment color that I used in my first project, both sides. I'm going to just use my antique wax for the bird and give him a really pretty stain. And for the birdhouse, I'm going to use a sage green color. I thought it would be fun to take these shapes and make sort of a wind chime out of them. I don't know if that's really what it's going to be, but that was kind of the idea I had. Taking some twine and I'm going to be stringing on 3 different sizes of beads. First, a large natural bead, then a wood stain bead, and then a smaller sort of bumpy shaped bead. And I'm sorry that you really can't see what I'm doing here, but I'll just explain it to you real quick. So the first one here that you see with the loop, that's going to be the hanging one. And then I'm going to be making 3 or 4 other ones to go in between all of my wood shapes that I've painted. Then at the end, I'm going to be adding a tassel down at the bottom. I tie a knot at the very beginning and then thread on the largest bead. And then I do another knot down at the bottom so the beads are going to stay in place and they're not going to slide around. I'm going to take the sponge that has that little bit of antiquing wax on it and just go around the edges of all the shapes. Plus, I'm going to just rub it over the top of them just so they look a little bit more distressed and worn. Now, I'm going to have to just show you the pictures of the finished product. I got totally distracted when I was putting this all together and I forgot to turn my camera on, but I think you can probably figure out what I've done. I basically just added all of the pieces together and used hot glue to hold them in place. And then I added a little bit of greenery, and I think I'd love to have a whole bunch of these hanging under my gazebo at home or even here at the cottage. I hope you enjoyed these summer DIYs and got inspired to create some home decor for yourself. Please remember to head down to my description box and click on the playlist link. You won't want to miss out on everything else that my friends have created. Bye for now.